Welcome to webinar 103. And this is the spinal column. And the reason we did the spinal column is the theme, the warmth of love. So we're starting to go into fall. So that means a little bit, here in the States anyway, it's a little bit warmer or a little bit cooler. So we don't get to wear all the lovely things that we got to wear before. We get to wear the turtlenecks and the lovely snuggle things around us. So we have to take care of our spine as well. That's very important. So what I thought, I know that they've been over the spine before, but this is just really like a basic spinal anatomy class, kind of just an overview of the spine, because y'all already worked the BC. You know that spine. So you know that the basic understanding is the anatomy is the function, and extremely important with all of the spinal disorders. And you know, I couldn't go over them all, so I just picked 5 that we're going over. There are so many, and it's so sad. And do you realize that doing what we do, if we could just get this out there and people would trust and see our lights, that they would know that they would get better. It may not get better 150%, but I know that a young lady stood up and walked after she was told she couldn't walk for 22 years. So things happen. So we never tell people it doesn't happen. Miracles happen every day. Let's just make them happen. You can do it. You have the ability. And we're here to answer any questions. So the 3 main functions of the spine are to protect the spinal cord, and y'all knew that, the nerve roots, and there are several nerve roots, and we're going to go over the nervous system next time of the spinal cord, because I thought it would be too much to try to get both of this in there. And then the body actually has internal organs that are protected by the spinal cord also. And a lot of people really don't put the two together or stop to think about that all this is really connected, and that is why our body feels so deeply. We provide structural support, and you have to think about how important the core is for that strength, right? That core is everything. People don't think it is, but it is. It is so important. We have to have that support and balance and maintain that upright posture. You very rarely see me sit back. I usually sit up, and I'm usually sitting up straight. It's more comfortable for me to sit up straight than to lean back and hunch like I did when I was a kid. I don't know about y'all, but do y'all sit up straight more now that you're older, or do you hunch? Okay, so we remember that. Go ahead. What do you do, Kayla? Do you hunch still?
I was just thinking about that. I don't know. I caught myself just doing it now, so I guess I must.
Then you relax. You relax then. That's your relaxed state. I'm hardly ever relaxed. I need to find the relaxed state. So we have to remember that this beautiful spine of ours enables us all the blessed flexible motion that we have inside of us. We couldn't do all this. We couldn't wave at each other. And we need to take a minute or two to just say thank you. Do you ever at night when you lay down to go to sleep just say, Lord, thank you for being there? Body, thank you for being there. I mean, if your feet ache, have you ever just rubbed them and said, oh, thank you for what you did today? Your hands are aching because you worked all day. Well, if I rubbed a little essential oil on their head, just think how good that feels. And oh, I need to tell them thanks, you know. How many times do you do that? You don't really, do you? I know that I don't catch myself doing it very often, but I do a lot more than what I used to, because we need to be more thankful and take care of us as well as everybody else. So take care of your spine and take care of you, and show yourself lots and lots of love, lots of baths, lots of lights, lots of petals. So what we remember that the region of the spine consists not only of our cervical, we've got our lumbar, we've got our thoracic spine, the T1 through the T12, or 7 through 12, and then you've got the sacral, and you all know how to work with all that. So, but we're going to talk a little bit about each one, but we're not going to go through them heavily because I don't want to be here for hours and hours. So we know that the C1 is the atlas that sits on the very top, right, of that bone, of the very top, and it covers and it hides inside those three little things up there in that brain stem that need to be hidden up there and be protected. Now remember, and this is what's really weird, because remember reflexology. Do y'all know much about reflexology? Reflexology, please look it up. Please try and play with it a little bit. I know doing everything, there's so much to play with and there's so many books. But reflexology, if your big toe gets sore, ask, is my atlas happy or is my axis happy? And sometimes, well, for me, every time it's one of those that are not happy. Even though I didn't realize that my neck was bothering me, but my toe let me know. And then you come up and you rub, and you can rub on your toe also, because, and remember, it's really neat how we're so intertwined. So don't forget that sometimes just laying sometimes those stones right on that spot on the, one of our meridians would help, even by laying it where it's, supposed to. Just, you have to think about what you're doing. So the atlas and the axis, and we know how they're all supposed to shape. If I was trying to find different, diagrams and stuff for y'all, but everything was so pluché, I said, nah, you guys already seen, so you know what I'm talking about. Have you ever seen a clear picture of a spine going up and down? Have you ever just went out and did the anatomy part? Maybe you should. This is what I did when I started 30 plus years ago. I went out and got all the anatomy. I got all the muscles, all the bones, all the ligaments, all the tendons, where all the fascia is, because they're not all called the same thing. Okay, some of this stuff is called carbuncles, and there's other things like that. So I went out and had all this printed. So when you go in to find the imbalance, it may not be what's on the body code. It may be what's in those sheets. It may be a little bit deeper. So make sure you look a little bit deeper, okay? It may be within there.
Can I ask something?
Sure, go right ahead.
So I've been noticing that I printed out like just like a little body to use, and I've been wanting to go, even to see like if they have like a medical school, like maps and atlases for exactly what you're saying. But I work with a pendulum, and I noticed that even like when I work with this little map of a human body, I can move on it, and then it would tell me very precisely like where it is and where it's not, and or I sometimes do it even like within the very map, with the app that I have on the iPad, that I would just like quite precisely get what you know.
Yep, and sometimes just having just a picture, it knows where it's going. I mean, your subconscious is the one that leads you there.
Yeah, it's amazing how precise it can be. Just very.
It is, isn't it?
But
it's actually.
That's a great idea, to get even more precise.
Right. The more precise we are, it's better for our clients. And it's better for us. The more knowledge we have, again, and you'll hear me say it 1,000 times, the more power we have. And I know y'all are probably tired of hearing me saying that, but I'll say it all the time. So thoracic spine. Remember where we hold most of our tension at in our cervical and our thoracic spine, right? We hold it all through here. So remember some of the Donna Eden practices that she has for releasing some of her energy. Not only go in and release it, but finish releasing it not only through full court of atonement, but also do some of hers, because then it all just comes together, and I find it very, very calming. Even some more of Ina Segal, I've been taking some more of her classes too, and it's just really calming to me. What do you think about it, y'all? Is it all calming to you with the different, all of them together? Or are you just using one? Or are you just using two? What are you using? Paula, what are you using? Are you
Well, honestly, for me, they work together.
okay, beautiful.
For me, they work together. Sometimes when I'm working with a client, it's like I feel that I need to suggest like an energy medicine exercise from Donna Eden to do. Sometimes I don't feel that, but if I feel I need to do that, then I search for the exercise, or sometimes they need to trace their own meridian. So
Right.
I find like the chart and I explain them how to do that. And I have seen that it helps tremendously.
Oh, yes.
Tremendously.
They kind of put more together, and it also involves them into what you're doing, and you want to involve them more and more, because they just don't want to sit here and say, okay, kind of, this is boring. Because as you can tell on some people's faces, they kind of look bored. So involve them, bring them into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Donna is very much about that, involving your body. I love that one exercise that she does, and I've used it a lot with people, where she would like lift your energy if you're feeling down in the afternoon, like where you're like kind of cross.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I do too. And I plan to study her even into more detail. I feel I really trust her.
Mm-hmm.
What she does, because she can see.
Yes,
Yeah.
she can, and she smiles all the time.
You can see it on her.
Oh, it's beautiful. Even her daughter, even her husband, you can see. I watched them the other day. It was beautiful. And that's what I want us all to be, always happy, always glad to be together, always smiling to be together. I want us to feel the love, the support from each other. And I want us to learn from each other, because that's the only way we're going to grow. So, anytime. Let's go, girls. So, thoracic spine beneath the cervical, we've got T1 through T12. We were just talking about that. Remember, ribs attached. Add the strength and stability that we need. And remember, you've also got the ones that are floating ribs. Okay? And then the rib cage and the ligaments actually limit what you can and how you cannot move. And remember, keep the serratus lumborum. A lot of times you find this out in people, they're talking about right here. Keep yours, since you're sitting in a chair all the time, make sure you're working that muscle, bring it up, pull your tummy in, sit it up, and make sure you're, you know what I'm saying? Because you're sitting in a chair, make sure you're moving your legs, bringing your legs up and down, bringing your ankles up and down, bringing them in circles. Make sure you're always moving. I mean, not 100% all the time moving, but always moving, so you're not going to get pain or anything in your legs, and it's not going to make you as tired. Also will give you a little more strength and oomph. Okay. The sacrum, the lumbar spine, we all know, are the lower five. Okay. When they're out, we usually have problems with our kidneys, our sexual organs, all of that, all through those bones. The sacrum is located, we know, in the pelvis. And the last of them were the hip bones. The last five lumbar, the L5, articulate and move with the sacrum below the ones that are already fused together from the coccyx down. And if you look at it, it's actually formed in a diamond. And I thought that was rather unique. It's kind of like a trio, just like everything we do, it's a trio, it's a three. I just think that's amazing. I think he put that in all in plan. Didn't you? I do. So the one things I know that we don't ever talk about are the anatomical planes. And we don't ever hear about these, do we? Have you ever? Here we go.
There you go.
Oh, go. They're back. Hey, yeehaw. Cow patty, I did all by myself. Okay, let me go back up here.
So we were in...
I'm just starting, I'm so sorry, everybody, on the anatomical planes. People, you really don't hear about these planes, but I want you, when you're working through somebody's spine, I want you to stop and think, hey, is this a problem in this plane? Because nobody ever thinks about this. Have y'all ever heard of it as many years as y'all been doing it? Okay, so remember, there's our frontal and then our coronal, what they call planes. So the frontal plane divides us at the front and the back. Just like when we shield ourselves, the front, the back, the left, the right, the top, the bottom, and all the cracks in between. That's the same way with the anatomical plates. The frontal, the coronal, the medium, the medusaccral, the transverse, and the horizontal. So it's like our whole entire being. So the spinal curvature, now I'm sure we've all seen somebody with spinal bifida. We're going to talk about that. Okay, Mbala, go ahead.
So the regions of the spine consist on the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar, and the anatomical planes.
Mm-hmm.
Tuspielagi describes the spinal anatomy. The spine specialists use term to define body planes.
Mm-hmm.
And a body plane is an imaginary flat, two-dimensional surface that defines the particular area of the anatomy. So
does everybody understand why they look at a two different plane level? Do you understand why they do that? Okay, like when they, let's say what they took out of me, and they took slices of all of the 5 spots they did, for they could, because I didn't understand why in the hell did you take so much out of me. And so he showed me each little slot that they took, each little slice, even though it was so minuscule, each slice was different, that different from the one in front of it and the one behind it. And he goes, that's why you can't breathe. So that's why these scientists and these doctors take these things apart this way, so they can see what's inside, like on bones with bone marrow, right? They want to take a check on what, like if you have leukemia, etc. They're going to want to look at the bone marrow. Okay, go ahead.
So we have this frontal or coronal plane, the median or the mid-digital plane, and the transverse or horizontal plane. The frontal or coronal is the frontal plane that divides the front and the back, halves of the entire body. And then the median planes divide the left and the right side of the entire body. And the transverse or horizontal plane divides the body at the waist. So we have the upper part and the lower part.
Now, have anybody seen Donna Eden do the energy part to whether your legs are connected to the upper part of your body and whether the top body? You've seen that before where she's tested. And if I didn't have stitches, I'd stand you up and show you. But you know, you've all got those two little notches right in the middle of your back, right down her spine. Take your hands, take your thumbs, use your thumbs and sit up, and you'll see that you've got 2 little notches right there at the lower part of your spine, right?
Yeah.
You see them? Okay. You're not supposed to be there that way, that far out. So I want you to take them. I want you to shoot them out like this. And she says you shoot the energy out, and you do that, and that's moving that stagnant energy away. I did it about 10 times the other night, and it feels so good. And then she said the other one, and I've been being real careful, the one that you do where you take your farthest arm to the farthest side, to your side, and you start pulling the stagnant energy across all the way, and then you go down the opposite leg, and you do it on both sides about 10 times. And she said the energy you feel will be so different. So I've been doing it, and my RSD hasn't been hurting. Actually, my leg has been numb. So I thought that was a phenomenal thing that was able to be changed that quick by just doing a small energy thing.
Yes, because you are moving the energy of the body.
Yes, and trying to think of it in a positive fashion, and instead of saying, my God, you hurt, my God, you hurt. Instead, oh, I'm so grateful for the pain. I'm glad I had it. Okay, and this is what I'm learned from it today.
Okay, so the spinal cords. View from the front, a healthy spine is straight up and down. View from the side, a spine has 4 distinct curves.
Mhm.
Curves are described as being either kyptonic or lordotic.
Lordotic. Mhm.
A kyptonic curve is a convex curve in the spine. For example, a convexity
Convexity toward the back of the
towards the
spine.
back of the spine.
Mhm.
The curves in the thoracic and sacral spine are kyptotic. A lordic curve is concave. For example, concavity towards the back of the spine, and is found in the cervical and in the lumbar levels of the spine.
Has anybody ever seen a young person with a concave chest in?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm talking. That's what this is talking about.
Okay.
Sometimes it can happen in the back, or it can happen in the chest, or it comes in and it turns their spine.
Okay. And then we have these vertebral structures. The outer shell of a vertebra consists of cortical bone. Cortical bone is dense, solid, and strong. Inside each vertebra is cancellous bone, which is weaker than cortical bone and consists of loosely knit structures that resemble honeycomb, like the bone marrow, which forms red blood cells and some types of white blood cells, is found within the cavities of cancellous bone. Vertebrae consist of following common elements: the body, that is the largest part of the vertebra. Viewed from the overhead, it appears oval. From the side, it appears slightly hourglass-shaped, thicker at the ends and thinner in the middle. Then we have the pedicles, that are two short processes made up of strong cortical bone that protrude from the back of the vertebral body. We have the lamina, that are two relative flat plates of bone that extend from the pedicles on either side and join in the middle line. We have processes, that there are 3 types of processes: articular, transverse, and spinous. The processes serve as connection points for ligaments and tendons. 4 articular processes joined with the articular processes of adjacent vertebrae to form the facet joints. The facet joints combine with the intervertebral disc and allow for motion in the spine. The spinous processes extend posteriorly from vertebra where the 2 laminates join and act as a level to effect vertebral motion.
So somebody can actually, in this area, anywhere they can be, this is one of the places that they can be paralyzed in.
Wow. Then we have the end plate, the top superior and the bottom inferior of each vertebra. Body is coated with an end plate. End plates are complex, cartilaginous structures that blend into the intervertebral disc and help support the disc. As well, we have the intervertebral for men. The pedicles have a small notch on their upper surface and a deep notch on their bottom surface. This notch from a hollow passageway between vertebrae. The foraminal passageways allow a place for nerve roots to branch out from the spinal canal.
Now, you know what happens when the nerves are cut at anywhere, place, or anything? When it comes to nerve damage in the lower back or anywhere in the back. If you
When
have,
it's like
go ahead.
You can't walk.
Right, if it's in the wrong place, yes, it can be a permanent thing. Yes. Sometimes they can put the nerves back together, and when nerves start regrowing together, they start burning. They feel like they're on fire. So that's one thing, you know, if they're coming back. The young lady that was in the wheelchair for 22 years, she said she's never felt such a burning in her lower back in all her life, but she felt it was a great burning.
Oh, okay.
So just one of a nerve thing. Nerves can work very differently depending on if we listen to what we hear the doctors say, or what we hear, you know, the toxic sound, the outside toxic sound that we let get inside. We need to keep a barrier on that, so we know inside what's happening inside.
I think a great story for that is Joe Dispenza. You all heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
He had this massive spinal injury in the 80s. He was a triathlete, and I mean, I think that's the core of his this whole, basically his belief and everything he has. He is his books is how you can rebuild, and he did it with his spine, and he was able to avoid this major surgery and walk again after a couple months of just belief work.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
We can do so many things in our own mind.
We have also the facet joints.
Mm-hmm.
And these joints are formed at the back posterior of each vertebral body. Facet joints help the spine to bend, to twist, and extend in different directions. The facet joints restrict excessive movement, such as hyperextension and hyperflexion, for example, whiplash. Each vertebra has two facet joints. The superior articular facet face upwards and work like a hinge, with the inferior articular facet below. Like other joints in the body, each facet joint is surrounded by a capsule of connective tissue and produce synovial fluid to nourish and lubricate the joint. The surface of the joint are coated with cartilage that helps each joint to move and articulate smoothly.
Some herbs that may work with that beautifully are chondroitin, even powdered, oh Lord have mercy, collagen. Nature Sunshine has a collagen that works really well with that. And there's some other products that would work really good for joints. Kayla, do you have some in the shop that would work good for joints?
I don't. The only thing I do that helps with joints is I own foot detoxes.
And those are excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, we have the intervertebral discs. Between each vertebral body is a cushion, the intervertebral discs. Disc absorb stress. The disc absorbs stress in the body and incurs during movement and prevents vertebrae from grinding against one another. The intervertebral discs are the largest structures in the body without a vascular supply. By means of osmosis, each disc absorbs nutrients, and each disc is made up of two parts, the annulus fibrosus and the nucleus pulposus.
So you would see this with knees mainly, and people that's in sports a lot or that use their joints a lot. They're the ones that are really hurting and have hips replaced and knees replaced. Their discs are no longer spongy, aren't going to catch it anymore. It's going to be grinding bone to bone. So they'll want you to be replaced.
So I have a question. Have you seen those structures being repaired through body code, for example? Can they get, like, can they start to regrow, be repaired, etc.?
Can we do good for people with persons who have broken their bones?
Oh, well, I specifically mean discs, you know, and
A disc, I believe that our intention and the way that we state things, if we have the correct intention, that we can do anything.
Mhm.
And if the person receiving that intention has the same want and the same need, I think that anything is possible with the body code. I've seen some miraculous things in 14 years, things I thought wouldn't, just couldn't be. So I think yes. What do you girls think?
Well, the annulus fibrosus, is a sturdy tire-like structure that encases a gel-like center the nucleus pulpus. The annulus enhances the spine rotational stability and helps to resist comprehensive stress. The annulus is a layered structure that consists of water and sturdy elastic collagen fibers. The fibers are oriented at different angles, horizontal, similar to the construction of a radial tire. Collagen consists of fibrous bundles made of protein bound together by proteolytical gel. So that's the reason why collagen is important.
Right, right. And as we get older, we're going to lose it quicker. So while you're young, make sure you test for it and utilize it. Don't let them be. I had a young lady in London who was she was clenching onto her jaw every night. And instead of just having something to stop her from clenching her jaw, they did 4 shots, 2 shots on each side of Botox. And her muscle just fell, her skin just fell. She was beautiful and vibrant. I mean, we got it back, I believe, to where she looks really good now. But when she looks at herself, it's not what she wants to see. But that's where you have to learn boundaries of, do I let this doctor push me to where I feel comfortable, or do I let them push me to where I feel uncomfortable? Because if I wasn't comfortable after the first one, I wouldn't do number 2 and number 3, and I surely wouldn't do number 4. So really check things out.
Okay. And then we have this nucleus pulposus.
Mm-hmm.
At the center of each disc is a gel-like elastic substance. Together with annulus fibrosis, the nucleus pulposus disturbs stress and weight from vertebra to vertebra. Structurally, the nucleus pulposus is similar to the annulus fibrosis.
Mm-hmm.
Water collagen and proteoglycans. However, the concentration of these substances differ as the nucleus contains more water than the annulus.
Right, right. And that's why it's so important. You know, I always tell people at the end of when I do sessions for people, I always tell people, I don't know what you do about how you tell them about being nutrition, but I always tell them to stay hydrated, eat high vibrational foods. That means fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, and movement is necessary. But I shouldn't have to come out and say, don't sit on the couch and eat bonbons. We should be able to say, you know, nutrition's what's going to make your body vibrant and healthy. That's what's going to make more of this vibrant and healthy. So it's important that we get in. We have so many people that, I mean, especially older people, and as we get older, we're also not going to absorb fluids as well. So we need to drink more, use more lotions on yourselves. I didn't know about sunscreen and stuff when I was younger. So use it on your skin. Stay beautiful.
And then we have the end plates.
Mm-hmm.
The top superior and bottom inferior of each vertebral body is coated with an end plate. End plates are cartilaginous structures that blend into the intervertebral disc to hold it in place.
So that's why if there's an imbalance or somebody breaks that end plate, that's why it's so hard for them to keep the stability going. That's why they always want to put a plastic one in there.
Okay. What's a spinal cord injury? A spinal cord injury is a damage to the spinal cord. It's an extremely serious type of physical trauma that likely to have a lasting and significant impact on most aspects of daily life. The spinal cord is a bundle of nerves and other tissues that the vertebrae of the spine contains and protects. The vertebrae are the bones stacked on top of each other that makes the spine. The spine contains many nerves and extends from the brain base down to the back, ending close to the buttocks.
Mm-hmm.
The spinal cord is responsible for sending messages from the brain to all the parts of the body. It also sends messages from the body to the brain. We're able to perceive pain and move our limbs because of messages sent through the spinal cord. If the spinal cord sustains an injury, some of all of these impulses may not be able to get through. The result is a complete or total loss of sensation and mobility below the injury. A spinal cord injury close to the neck will typically cause paralysis throughout a larger part of the body than one in the lower back area.
So
Wow.
when you work on this area, when you start on a spinal cord area, yes, you want to ask what is the deep underlying imbalance, and then don't forget about the trauma energy around what occurred. There's going to be more. There's going to be body walls. There's going to be brain walls. There's going to be heart walls. There's going to be despair anchors. There's going to be negative images of themselves, just thinking all kinds of wild things. There's going to be so much, but also remember to start reconnecting up that his whole spine. Just whoever spine it is, start reconnecting their spine and make sure there's no disconnections with the brain connecting down through, because if there's not an open pathway, they're going to have a blockage that they're not going to be able to get through all the way, if that sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then how do the spinal cord injury usually occur? A spinal cord injury is often the result of an unpredictable accident or a violent event. The following can all result in damage to the spinal cord, like a violent attack, such as stabbing or gunshot, diving into the water that's too shallow and hitting the bottom, trauma during a car accident, specifically trauma to the face, head, and neck region, back or chest area, falling from a significant height, head or spinal injuries during sporting events, electrical accidents, severe twisting of the middle portion of the torso. And what are the symptoms of a spinal cord injury? Some problems of spinal cord injury include problems walking, loss of control of the bladder or bowels, inability to move the arms or to move the legs, feelings of spreading numbness or tightening in the extremities, unconsciousness, headache, pain, pressure, and stiffness in the back of the neck area, signs of shock, unnatural positioning of the head.
And remember, the first 24 to 48 hours are the most, why didn't I have that in here? The most important. Why don't I have that in here? Okay, spinal cord injury. We know to call 911 right away when somebody gets injured. We don't move them. We don't disturb them. We leave them laying straight wherever they're laying. Oh my God, it's a bug. It's a bug. We encourage them to stay as still as possible. It's really hard when somebody's been in an accident to keep people. They want to see, they want to know what's going on, but it's really hard to keep them stable. We had a young gentleman when I went to high school who rolled his vehicle, who was told to stay down. He didn't stay down. He's in a wheelchair now. So, and he was a beautiful artist, and he stopped everything. So having a spinal cord injury is so dramatic. They can diagnose it by CTs, MRIs, X-rays. They can evoke other type of how quick the signals reach the brains. They've got some wallop of tests they have that they used to not have. When a spinal cord injury often becomes in an unprecedented way, whether it's an accident, however you want to call that, there are such severe potential effects. The vast majority of people that need the assistive devices and et cetera, the walkers, the wheelchairs, the loss of mobility, the paralysis from the neck down. If they were just able to just trust a little bit, I feel we could help them. I feel we could help anybody. And you don't want to push something on somebody that doesn't want to, that thinks we're wackos or something like that. You don't want to do that. But there's so many things that we can do with this, and people can be so much better if they just thought of themselves a little bit more than they do, and know that if I'm dealt with something, it means that I have something bigger coming on and I need to step up and try hard. Does everybody have the book? And of course
I
mine,
think I have it here.
the book I'm talking about, the Healing Questions
Oh, well,
Guild.
I know because I read it here.
Good. Yes. This is a really good book to get if you don't have it. It's by Wendy Jensen. I think mine was like $19, and it was surely worth the $19. What I have, the numbers I have here with this are with her.
Here we have this.
Yes, there we go. It is in there. Okay. See, and I was going to take a picture of that and bring that up, but then even then, if I did that, it would make it not look right, I felt. So remember, when we're working with anybody with any type of injury, we can change the question around 15, 16, however many times, and every time we change it differently, we're going to get a different answer. The subconscious isn't going to know, they just asked me this in a different way. Remember, the reason we have pain in our mind, if we think about what Steve Ozanazich said about, and Dr. Sarno, that the thought of the mind and the body of the syndrome of what we're holding on to is what's keeping us where we don't want to be, especially when it comes to back pain. So I need to dig deeper into their book. So in this book, remember, you can ask, there's several answers to several things. The questions or the answers start in this guide on page 401 for the spine questions, and then the injuries go from there. And you can ask for deeper underlying balances. Some of it can even be inherited from generations ago.
Yeah, this is nice. It's nice because I don't know if you can see.
Yes, I checked it out. I've been checking it out for several days, how many different...
it has questions for different vertebrae.
Yes. And each vertebrae will give you a different reason. Even if we go through with the one that Dr. Brad has, even though he doesn't come out and say that, we can ask and it will give us. And most of the time they're connected to teeth also. So it's very important. And remember, the reflexology is really, really important. I engage. My book is really, really old. I got this back in the late 70s, and I don't know if you can get it anymore. It's called the How To Herb Book. And I have about 10 different herb book. The latest one that I got, David got me, it was the old... the new rendition of the old herb book. It's green and gold. The 5 diseases I thought we'd talk about really quick, like we're at 8:01. Is everybody okay?
Yep.
Okay. Scoliosis. We've all heard of scoliosis many times. Have we ever dealt with anybody with scoliosis? You have not. You have not. Have you? Petra? Is that how you... Have you dealt with anybody with scoliosis?
Well, just briefly, I worked on a fellow emotion code practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
And she had scoliosis in the past, and there were I've worked on a bunch of things. There was like the girdle meridian that I corrected, a few emotions. We just did it twice, and she said she noticed like it went more even.
She wasn't as cocky, yeah.
Yeah, so it
because
was
it's
like
a big difference.
One of her shoulders was a bit down, and she said she started noticing the difference, but we're working at it like lightly. I can't really say I've worked on anyone with a, and also for her it's like an old thing, not like a persistent issue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Perhaps
I
someone might share a better case than this.
I've worked on a couple people with scoliosis, and we've done really good and got them to a point where they thought that they were healed, and I thought they could go a lot farther, but I'm not going to tell somebody, I'm not going to push anything on anybody. That's up to them. It's not for me to go. And there was so much to take out, and a lot of it I noticed had to do with trauma happening when this person was, before this person was 3 years old. The trauma happened between 1 and 3, and it was big trauma, and it was very heartbreaking for both of us. And he changed, but he changed so much. And he did get a lot better. The other ones have gotten better. They're not completely, if they come back, they do, but they've got a lot better. But this guy has decided to leave his family and go see the world now. And I feel like I've created somebody, so maybe I'm a little concerned about just taking off. Just, I'm healed. I can go anywhere. Spina bifida. Has anybody worked on anybody with spina bifida? I didn't know what anybody would have. Oh, I wrote it down. I spelled it wrong. Spina bifida. It's a defect, a type of birth defect with the brain of the baby. It could be the brain, the spinal cord. It happens when the spinal column of the fetus doesn't come close to completely closing together, and they have this little bitty inward hole, and it's really freaky when you see it. When you see it, it worries you. First time I saw it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to be inside here. I want to leave. It can be fixed. They can help it. There's a lot of things you can do to help the baby. Some people, as they get older, if it happens older, they have a normal intelligence. It's not that they're not smart. Some people need assistive devices as they get older, and like braces, crutches, wheelchairs, et cetera, and they may have a little bit of learning disability and a little bit of trouble with the restroom part of it, and there may be a little bit of fluid buildup in the brain. But if I worked on somebody today who had every single one of their central nerves were off, every single one of them. And I thought, how are they even functioning if none of these? I mean, it was like a 6-page report. By the time the hour was over, it's like, okay, I am totally exhausted. You have got to be. I've never seen it where anybody has had all the central nerves be off like that. Have you guys? You ladies, have you seen anybody like that? I haven't either. The spinal stenosis on page 421, it talks about it. It's a condition where the spinal column arrows and it compresses the spinal column down, which can be characterized by narrowing of the spinal cord. And I'm sure you've heard it from a lot of older people. Spinal stenosis is something that older people get. Exercise is the key, of course, to everything. Spondylitis, have you heard of that one? Everybody probably has. Okay, no. I've only worked on this once. I didn't feel comfortable because I didn't know a lot about it. I knew what I have here, that the general term for age-related wear and tear of affecting the spinal disc in the neck. Now, when you stretch your neck, are you gentle and stretch it gently, or do you whip it and stretch it and whip it and stretch it? Have you seen it when, I'm not saying anything, but have you seen it when people have really whipped their necks to stretch it? That is so bad for us to do. We need to be gentle with our necks. You know, doing silly things like that even though those are little movements, those little movements can put us out of commission. And we need to be more elegant about the way we treat ourselves. This one, more than 85% of older people that are 60 have cervical spondylosis. I want to look that up some more. They have some type of bone spur. So I want to look that up some more. I thought that was a little bit high. Syringomelia, I have only heard about this a few times. A development of fluid-filled cyst within the spinal cord itself. And over time, the cyst may enlarge, and then it damages the spinal cord itself. Have you ever seen one on somebody? Okay, and it causes stiffness, many conditions. Each person can have a different condition, but it's really sad. There's so much to this disease. But I didn't know what everybody would be interested in as far as spinal conditions, what you wanted to learn about, whether you wanted to learn more of arthritis things or of not. Arthritis is such a simple thing to take care of, but the trouble is people don't want to stop doing what they're doing.
So what do you mean by that?
If you look in the book, like we have there, our hands and our legs lead us in a way. A lot of people, you tell people, don't eat this, don't do this, it's not good for you. They want to do what they want to do anyway, whether it's good for them or not. They're going to do what they want. We can only make suggestions, put a seed in somebody's head. It would be better for you and for your arthritis for you to do this. I told a young lady once that it'd be better for her to do this for her arthritis, and it was so much cheaper than going through the pain and the hell she went through, and she was really upset. But I didn't tell her to have surgery. That would be the farthest thing that I said. Surgery is no fun. Exactly, it's not in any way, shape, or form. So we've got to be careful about how we speak to our clients. We really do. Because we get more and more people involved in doing this, more and more new people that don't know all the rules and say the wrong thing when they're not supposed to. And boom, they've got a lawsuit. So please, please be careful. That's why I want this group to grow. That's why I want it to be so important. I can't believe everybody's not here, but that's okay. Would you like to bow your head and say a prayer, and then we can go off and have a talk? Okay, if we could please just bow your head. Heavenly Lord, we thank you for each one of us being here tonight. We thank you for your presence. We thank you for your love. We thank you for our beautiful spines that hold us together. We thank you for forming it so eloquently for each one of us. We thank you for our uniqueness and for all the blessings that you grant each one of us. Bless you and bless all. Amen. Thank you. Let me take it off.